Hi, my name is Sandra Wilson. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist who works with adults and children with misophonia and extreme sound sensitivity. Now today's video is entitled, Why Does Misophonia Often Feel Worse? And what many people don't realise. So if you yourself live with this deeply frustrating, distressing condition, you may have noticed a pattern or perhaps a trend toward the condition and your triggers becoming worse over time. So sounds that used to merely irritate you now just feel unbearable, and sounds that were unbearable that used to trigger rage now just seem even stronger, and you may even notice that your trigger list is growing. And you might be wondering, why does this seem to be getting worse? So in this video, I want to explain something that many people don't realise about misophonia and why worsening symptoms can often make more sense than you might think. And also, there is something you can do about it. So the first is your nervous system learns through repetition. So your nervous system is constantly learning from experience. So if a particular sound repeatedly triggers the stress response, anger, panic, or overwhelm, your brain starts to become more alert to it. And this is just called the brain becoming desensitized. Okay, sensitization. So it's not desensitized, it's sensitized. It's becoming more sensitive to those triggers. And your system just becomes faster at detecting the trigger and faster at reacting. It really is your brain trying to help you. So over time, you may notice reactions happening more quickly, that they will feel more intense and they'll take longer to recover from. Not because you're flawed or weak, because your nervous system has simply become conditioned to anticipate threat, which does lead very nicely onto point 2. Anticipation becomes part of the problem, as I'm sure many of you are aware. So one of the biggest things many people don't realise is that eventually it's not just the sound that causes the distress, it is the anticipation of the sound. And I've made quite a few videos about anticipatory anxiety, and it can include worrying before meal times, listening out for neighbour noise, or just being hyper vigilant for the sound of that dog barking, becoming tense in your body before entering certain situations, whether that is going to a restaurant or just walking around your house when you know a certain person's going to be coming home, your neighbour, what time they come home from work. So your nervous system is busily and very effectively developing this hypervigilance, this hyper-alertness, constantly scanning for the potential for triggers, because it wants to help you. It wants to help you to avoid them. And of course, we all know that that chronic state of hypervigilance is exhausting. And number 3, stress and burnout often amplify misophonia. And misophonia very rarely exists in isolation from the rest of the nervous system. So many people notice that their reactions are worse during periods of long-term stress, of chronic stress, anxiety, whether that is something that is longer term or about something in particular. So I work with many young people who are going through exams, and they have noticed their misophonia getting a lot worse. Emotional overwhelm, burnout, you're doing too much, poor sleep, it's a biggie, hormonal changes. So if you are going through the menopause, that can sometimes make misophonia just become more noticeable and certainly far worse. Feeling trapped or overloaded, especially if it's a situation in your life that just feels impossible, and it's not clear how that could change. So when your nervous system is already stretched to full capacity, your tolerance just becomes much, much lower. So sounds that once felt manageable can suddenly feel intolerable, or those sounds that did already feel pretty awful, unbearable, just become far worse, and you find yourself just struggling in a pit of anticipatory anxiety or avoidance. And it can feel like being trapped in a prison when you're avoiding sounds at every single opportunity. And number 4, avoidance, again, segueing quite nicely. Avoidance can sometimes accidentally strengthen the fear response. And this is really important because you probably have tried to avoid triggers, but avoiding triggers is sometimes necessary and protective. But when you do this, the nervous system starts to believe, I cannot cope with this sound at all. So this belief may be causing your brain to begin treating the trigger as even more threatening. I kind of hope that makes sense. I'm not saying don't avoid, don't take action to avoid being triggered if it's the only thing helping you get through the day, but also understand that by doing so, it does feed your nervous system, your subconscious mind, a message that it's not safe. So over time, the world can start to feel smaller, with fewer safe spaces, more anticipation that you're going to be triggered, more tension in your body as well as your mind. And again, this is not a flaw. You are not broken. It just means your nervous system is rather like a very overactive guard or bouncer. It is really trying to help you, but it's becoming so overprotective that you are noticing your misophonia symptoms just getting worse, or the triggers that you already have are expanding. There are more triggers. So it's important to understand that when you think of misophonia getting worse, you may panic or blame yourself. But what's usually happening is your nervous system is just becoming more sensitive. This heightened anticipation and the accumulated mental load, this stress load, is something that you can work with. It is something that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And the important thing to know is that you can start to heal and relearn with the right support, with the right help. So when we reduce hypervigilance in the nervous system, reduce fear, support better regulation, and work gently with these symptoms, many people find that their reactions do become less overwhelming over time. And, I've seen it so much in my own practice. It's not because they force themselves to cope better or because they no longer, believe that they're under threat. It takes a lot of concentrated effort to really start working with your nervous system rather than against it. So if this resonated with you, you're very welcome to subscribe to my channel. Let's try and get me up to 1,000 subscribers. I'm sure there are many more than nearly 900 people who struggle with misophonia over in YouTube. So if you would like to explore my resources, please feel free. There's a link below to my website where you can get a bit more information, and I do hope that this has made sense. So I'll be back later on in the week with another video. Bye for now.